Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 15 of the Day or Night in the Desert podcast. I am your host, James Knight, here along with my co-host, Zach Morris.
How's it going, everyone?
Well, I'm doing very, very well as well. We have a lot of amazing stuff to get into today, but before we get into that, we want to remind everybody to subscribe, turn on post notifications, and go watch our content on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube so that you never miss any of the great content that we have coming up in the near future. We are going to get started because we have a lot to get into today. We got to obviously start with the Utah Mammoth. They lost a tough game on the road in Game 1 to Las Vegas, 4-2 to the Vegas Golden Knights. This was in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Logan Cooley had the opening goal for the Mammoth, the first ever goal in the history of Utah Mammoth playoff hockey. Kevin Stunland also added a goal, but Vegas was ultimately too much for the Mammoth to overcome with 3 goals in the third period. Just kind of give us your initial reaction to that, Zach. Kind of just tell us what you thought.
I really enjoyed watching that whole game from start to finish. It was really exciting to see Logan Cooley get the first ever Stanley Cup playoff goal in Utah Mammoth history. I don't think he will ever forget that as long as he lives. I am really happy for him, and I'm sure the team was thrilled when that went in. I was just so excited when that first goal went in the net. It was just really, really exciting. But in the third period is where it all kind of fell apart. The Knights were just too much for the Mammoth to handle. But overall, I did like the Mammoths play up and down the ice. So, yeah, I really enjoyed the game. I don't know about you, James. How do you feel about it?
I really enjoyed watching it. It didn't obviously end up the way that many of us had hoped it would, but I think there's a lot to build on when it comes to a game like this. We know it's the first playoff game we've ever played in franchise history. We got off to a great start in the first 2 periods of this game. It was on the road in a tough atmosphere in Las Vegas. And so I'm pretty optimistic going forward into Game 2 and beyond. We'll see what happens. I think we do need to win Game 2 in Vegas to really get ourselves in good position again to come back here and win some games at the Delta Center back home. But I think we have a lot to build on, and there's a few things we can improve on, and I think we will go back to the drawing board and improve on those things and come back even better in Game 2. So I am still very optimistic about the Mammoth and their chances. We also got to get into another game that happened in the NHL. The Buffalo Sabres beat the Boston Bruins 4-3 in Game 1 of their Eastern Conference opening playoff round series via a 3-point performance from Tage Thompson that included 2 goals and an assist. The Sabres hadn't won a playoff game since 2011, so 14 years without a playoff win. The Sabres overcame a 2-0 deficit by scoring 4 consecutive goals to hang on to win 4-3. So big congratulations to the Buffalo Sabres on that. We got to talk a little bit about the NBA. The Lakers won Game 1 over the Houston Rockets 107-98. An incredible career-high 27 points from Luke Kennard. LeBron James also did his part, adding 19 points, 13 assists, and 8 rebounds. So a near triple-double for LeBron James. Alperen Sengun led all Rockets scorers with 19 points in the loss, but Kevin Durant, unfortunately, had to miss Game 1 due to a knee injury. Each team had 5 players in double figures. So we saw that the Lakers, were able to get that done in Game 1, but we didn't see Kevin Durant out there, and he's one of the key leaders for the Houston Rockets. He's one of the greatest players, I think, of all time, and I think that impacted Houston's performance in Game 1 of that series, which ultimately led to the Lakers winning. But I was optimistic to see how well Kennard played, how well LeBron James played. Overall, the Lakers looking a little better than I thought they would coming into the playoffs. What's your reaction to that, Zach?
My reaction to that Kevin Durant comment is just diabolical. I think LeBron James is the best player of all time. I don't know where you got that from. I just know that LeBron James is 10 times or even 20 times better than Kevin Durant. But I will say Kevin Durant is a really great athlete. But he isn't in that picture of greatness of all time. But he will get there eventually. But hopefully he overcomes his injury and then they can get back to their winning ways.
But what was your overall reaction, I guess, to the game itself? Like the Lakers and how well they played together. Because we know Luka's out.
Yeah.
Austin Reeves has been out. So we've seen that happen. And even though Kevin Durant missed the game, the Lakers still showed up and did a pretty good job.
I think the Lakers will go back to the drawing board, see what they can do better, see what they did not so good, and go back and fix those mistakes and go right back to what they were doing this past game into the next game and beyond. But the Lakers are on that trajectory of hopefully winning a series or two. I just hope that LeBron James can lift that team even with the absence of Luka Doncic, and I hope that he can come back soon.
So we obviously are wishing Luka and Austin Reeves well. They are very key components in that team. But LeBron James doing a good job carrying the torch on his own, and so super happy to see that. We got to talk about another team that is kind of struggling a little bit. The Detroit Pistons lost to the Orlando Magic at home in Game 1, 112-101. Paolo Banchero led Orlando with 18 points, while Wendell Carter and Desmond Bane each had 17 points. Cade Cunningham did his part for the Pistons with 39, but they only had 2 players in double figures, whereas the Magic had 5 players in double figures in a massive win for the Orlando Magic.
I kind of knew about this with the Detroit Pistons. They always seem to choke in the playoffs. Not the regular season because they were dominant throughout the whole year. But when it comes to the playoffs, that's when they start to choke. And I will say this, in my own opinion, I think the Detroit Pistons are frauds, and I don't think that they will win this series at all. I have all the faith in the world in the Orlando Magic. I have really liked what I have seen from this young team this year and that coaching staff. That head coach has been on the hot seat for the last couple of weeks. He did need to get into the playoffs to keep his job, and he did that. And I hope that he can have more success going forward.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And we haven't seen Detroit have a ton of success, particularly in the postseason in recent years. But we saw what Orlando did. They have depth, they have toughness, they have great team chemistry. And I think they just came out and, kind of had their way with Detroit. And we saw, Cade Cunningham kind of carrying much of the load. Jalen Duren did contribute to some degree, but it really wasn't what I was hoping it would be for Detroit. And Detroit just needs to go back to the drawing board and kind of figure things out. We know that they're a 1 seed. They were a dominant regular season team, but right now certainly not looking like that team. And so I think it's back to the drawing board for them. Meanwhile, in San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama, who, by the way, I should mention, won unanimous Defensive Player of the Year for the first time in NBA history. He made his playoff debut with the Blazers in San Antonio, where he dropped 35 points and 5 assists. De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle each added 17 points, as the Spurs had 5 players in double figures in the win. We saw what we expected to see from Victor Wembanyama. Dominance on both ends. 35 points, 5 assists. He can do it all. He's got the size at 7 feet 4 inches tall. He's a great shot blocker, a great defender. But his production on the offensive end is, I think, what's impressed me the most, as much as his defense has been impactful. His ability to shoot long-range shots, his ability to control the tempo of a game, and even his ability to pass. He has it all, and there's really no weakness in his game that I can see, and we saw it in Game 1 of this series. What was your reaction to Wemby's playoff debut and his winning of Defensive Player of the Year in unanimous fashion?
I am just really thrilled by what I have seen out of Victor Wembanyama this whole year. He has gone up and down the court on both sides of the ball. He's so powerful. You cannot stop him in transition. He can shoot an open three-pointer. He can go in for a layup or even a dunk. And I just really am thrilled to see how he has evolved as a player and as a person. He is the second greatest of all time in centers. That is my opinion. I don't know about you, James, but that's just what I have.
I'd probably say he's the second best center right now. I don't know about all time, because we've seen a lot of great centers with Kareem and Shaq and Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell. I mean, there's so many guys, Hakeem Olajuwon. And to reach all-time levels, you have to be a star for a long time in this league. But I do think he has the potential to get there. And we've seen what he's been able to do and how he's changed the San Antonio Spurs franchise. And I think if he can lead the Spurs to a championship and he continues to have a good career, I think we'll definitely be including him in those greatest center conversations in the future.
The Thunder beat the Suns 119-84 behind Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's 25 points, 7 assists. Jalen Williams added 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists, while Chet Holmgren added 16 points and 7 assists. The game got chippy when Dylan Brooks got a flagrant 1 foul on Chet Holmgren for hitting that him across the face when going for the ball.
Well, and I don't think this is surprising at all. We know how good Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is. He's an MVP of the league. He won the NBA title last year and Finals MVP. We know what he brings to the table from a standpoint of scoring the basketball as well as getting his teammates involved. Jalen Williams, another great player, 22.7 rebounds, 6 assists. And Chet Holmgren has that great ability as a center, kind of like Wemby. He's not at Wemby's level, but he certainly has a lot of the same characteristics of Wemby, being able to shoot from the outside, being able to control tempo, control pace, put the ball on the floor, and control an offense. And so they have so many contributors on that team that I actually picked them to ultimately take home the NBA championship. We'll have to see how the Spurs and the Celtics do, but I just look at their experience, the way that they've come out throughout this season. They've had the best record in the Western Conference. They're coming off of a championship team already, and so I think that I just like what I've seen from the Oklahoma City Thunder and their depth and their grit and their toughness. You know, sometimes playoff games can get a little chippy. I don't think Dylan Brooks meant to hit Chet Holmgren intentionally. It kind of looked like he was going for the ball. And so I just like the fact that playoff basketball is back in full force. And it's going to be awesome to see how these teams come together throughout the playoffs. I do like what I'm seeing from both the Thunder and the Spurs so far, but a long way to go before we determine who the NBA champion is. And so I'm just looking forward to seeing it.
Let's go over to the Golden State Warriors' future behind Stephen Curry, Steve Kerr, and Draymond Green. What do you think those guys will happen in the offseason after their loss to the Suns in the play-in tournament?
Well, I do think it's going to be very interesting. Steve Kerr did have a moment on the sideline with his two superstars, Draymond Green and Steph Curry, where he talked about how much he's going to miss them, and he doesn't really know what the future holds for him, but he loves those guys to death. We've seen that team come together over so many years. They've won 4 NBA championships. Steph Curry, a multiple-time league MVP. Draymond Green, perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate. One of the best enforcers in the game. And so I think it's kind of sad to see that run coming to an end. They didn't make it into the playoffs. They just made it into the play-in tournament, lost to the Phoenix Suns. And I do think that this resembles kind of a turning point in the organization. I kind of hope Steve Kerr is able to stay as the head coach, but I don't really necessarily feel like that's going to happen. I think that they may choose to go in a different direction there, because I don't think you're going to get rid of Steph Curry. You're probably not going to get rid of Draymond Green, but I kind of hope all three of them get to stay and that they get to build with a different core around them, because I think that they've been so important to that city, that franchise, and ultimately just to the game of basketball. The Golden State Warriors have been one of the best teams over the last 10 years. And so while I don't think that Steve Kerr is necessarily going to stay as the head coach, I would certainly hope that he does. I think he would deserve to stay as the head coach. He's won titles. I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. But in today's NBA, it kind of feels like firing coaches is almost impulsive. And to me, it just doesn't seem like it's going to work out for them. So
I could see LeBron James maybe going there if he doesn't go to Cleveland or Philadelphia, which they have been linked to.
I know there has been some talks about that, but at the same time, I see LeBron James going to Cleveland or staying in LA. His son's playing in Los Angeles. It would take a lot to try to get his son, I think, onto a team like the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry, with Podziemski, with some of these other guys that we've seen. And so I just don't view that as being realistic, but there has been talks about it, so we'll see what happens. I just wish the best for Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green, and that's all I have to say.
I think I, as well, would like to say that I have watched the Golden State Warriors for years upon in my lifetime, and it's kind of sad to see this era come to an end, but I hope that they will stick around, at least Draymond Green and Stephen Curry, but we will see what happens. I am also a Steph Curry fan, and I just have really liked what I have seen from his progress from when he was getting right into the NBA to where he is now. He is now in this superstardom level with LeBron James, Kevin Durant, all these big names. And I'm just happy to see where he has come. And I just wish the best for him and Draymond and Steve Kerr. And I hope that those guys stick around. But you know how the NBA is with head coaches, like James says. It's a business. It's not personal.
Yeah, that's the problem too. And I hope Steve Kerr gets what he deserves from the fans and from the Golden State Warriors organization itself, because he's done a lot for the game, both as a player and as a coach. He's one of the greatest winners, I think, in the history of the game, both as a player and as a coach. And so certainly wishing those guys the best. But we got to get into some other news here, because New York Giants had free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. in for a workout and physical with the team Monday. While a return to New York remains a possibility, no signing appears imminent, according to a source. So it's likely the Giants will wait till after the draft to see if they want to sign Odell Beckham, who reportedly has a desire to play this season and wants to return to the team that drafted him in 2014, even with new Giants ownership and head coach John Harbaugh. Zach, just kind of give us your reaction to the potential of the Giants signing Odell Beckham and having those guys reunite.
Man, that would be electric. To see him come back to the team that drafted him, it would just be really, really exciting for that fan base and for that team. He brings firepower beyond any wide receiver I've ever witnessed. When he had that one-handed catch when he first started out his career, wow. And I believe that if he does go back to the Giants, he can get back to that level and get back to those highlight reel plays.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I loved watching Odell Beckham Jr. growing up with his one-handed catches, his flash, his flair. Everything that this man brings to the table is electrifying. And his career hasn't really turned out the way we expected. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. It's been really sad to kind of see that. But at his peak, he was one of the best receivers of this era, if not of all time. And so hoping that he can get back on his feet, that he gets another opportunity to play, and that we see him do the things that he loves to do and that he is good at once again in terms of being a receiver in the National Football League. Before we wrap up here, we just wanted to kind of give our predictions for Game 2 of the Mammoth Golden Knights series on Friday. They will be playing in Vegas for Game 2 before coming back to Salt Lake City and the Delta Center for Games 3 and 4 of this first-round playoff series. I'm leaning toward the Mammoth winning Game 2 of this series. I think that they had a good start in Game 1. They just were unable to finish. And I think they're going to come back out with the same energy, same intensity. I did like the way that they started that game. And so I ultimately believe that they're going to finish the deal in Game 2. They're going to come back here. They're going to have some momentum on their side. And I think I still have us winning this series, but it is going to be interesting to see how Vegas comes out. They looked really good, especially in the third period of Game 1. They can turn it on at any point in a game. We saw that. And these are two really good and evenly matched teams, in my opinion, as we saw in Game 1. And Game 2 is going to be exciting, but I do have the Mammoth coming out on top.
I have the Mammoth coming out on top as well. Irregardless, the Vegas Golden Knights are really scary right now. Both those teams in Game 1 went back and forth with each other. Things got chippy. Things got intense. And I believe that the Golden Knights will lose in 6 games. But nevertheless, you never know with the Stanley Cup playoffs. Emotions run high this time of the year. Players get really upset, and then they go at it with each other, and that's when problems can occur. But I do have the Mammoth going out on top in 6 games. And it'll be fun to watch with all these watch parties, with all these fans who have waited so long for an NHL team, and to be together in one place to watch their team play in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's going to be an atmosphere like none other. And I'm really excited for this state and this city to witness this team in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, totally agree, Zach. And it's going to be an amazing thing to watch. It'll be super fun, a super fun atmosphere in Vegas. There's all kinds of watch parties going on, and it's just really exciting to have playoff hockey in Utah. And the Mammoth have obviously brought a lot of joy to us as fans and to people around the state of Utah. And so I'm just looking forward to seeing it and to being a part of this. And yeah, well, that'll about wrap things up for today, guys. We want to thank you guys, as always, for tuning in to the Day or Night in the Desert podcast.
We really appreciate your support and love. It means the world to us. We can't do this without each and every one of you. So just thank you from the bottom of my heart, and thank you to James for all that he does to contribute to this podcast. and I can't wait for what the future holds for us and for the next episode.
Thanks you guys so much. I echo everything that Zach said and want to thank him for being here as well and for being a part of this show with me. So anyways, thank you guys, and we will see you on episode 16.